Hello, my people, my dudes, what's happening? Welcome back to Duty's Daggers. We're talking about TwoSun's today. These are the three TwoSun's that I have in my collection currently. I have more on my list and will possibly have more in the near future, but I wanted to make a video while this is on my mind. I recently just got in this one here, the TS269, and this one, the TS216. The TS300 here I've had for a bit longer, um, but I just recently purchased these two. This one was on the secondary market. This one was new. And I have some thoughts. I have thoughts about TwoSun I want to, talk to you about. So, we're going to get all into it here. First of all, if you haven't subscribed, do it now. Or you can do it after the video, but I recommend that you do it now. That way you don't forget. And follow me on Instagram at duties_daggers also. Please. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to do a basic overview of kind of what TwoSun is for anybody that might not be as familiar. They are an overseas manufacturer of knives, specifically in Yangzheng, China. Actually, it says on the pivot right here. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yangzheng. I don't know. It says right there, Yangzheng is what I'm saying. China. Um, they make a lot of titanium frame locks. I would say mostly titanium frame locks, among other things. And they are very, very good at it. They use premium handles with a little bit lower end blade steels. And as a result of that, and other factors that I'm unaware of and still can't quite wrap my head around, they're able to get these prices very, very low. This knife right here was $90. $90 with my discount code of White Mountain Knives, which you can use, Duty 3. It was I don't know, like 80 or something like that. The TS300, $90. The 216, $78. Now, let that sink in for a second. That is a price that it has never been seen from any other manufacturer in the knife world. There's nobody else coming out with these really unique and good designs, a lot of them, with this high level of build quality for those prices. I can't think of anybody else. I don't think there is. It's awesome. You get to experience the feel of a very premium knife. This one's in D2, so you're not going to have great edge retention or corrosion resistance. But you get to experience a very premium knife for $90. It's just crazy. It's very cool. They're not clones. They're not ripoffs. They're their own thing. And I would say that the vast, vast majority of TwoSun knives that I have seen are at the very least interesting designs. At the least. At the most, they are unique. Uniquely good designs is what I mean. There are some designs that are unique and they're a little funky, right? A few. And that's on the low end of the spectrum. That's kind of like the more lesser desirable ones. They're still built very well. Just the designs are a little funky. Then there's some designs that are funky and that I quite like. You see them and you're like, wow, that's whoa. I've never seen a knife like that. That's really cool. And then there's knives that are just straight up badass, you know? Just straight up like good, awesome, unique designs. These three on the table are examples of some of this badass knife designs. This one down here is probably the plainest of them all, and it still has some unique features going on here. The TwoSun 300, I mean, this is unique, you know? The 269, this is unique, for sure. I can't think of any other knife that looks similar to this knife. I can't. And I don't know all knives, you know. There might be one. I can't think of one. So I want to go over each of these knives, kind of just do an overview of each of them, and then we'll compare them and talk a little bit more about TwoSun in general. The question have been thinking about ever since I got my first TwoSun, this one, but even more now that I have these other two, is it worth spending money on a very similar knife with better blade steel and a name brand on it? Is it worth spending much, much more money on something like that when you can get a TwoSun with as good, sometimes possibly better build quality, not as good blade steel, and very, very low prices? That's an interesting question to think about, right? So we're going to get into that more in a second, but I just want to go over these knives really quick. So this was my first TwoSun. Not the first that I ever handled, but the first one I ever owned. This was a gift from my good friend Diener, and he decided that I needed to own a TwoSun, and he was right. Because as soon as I got this in hand, I really realized what TwoSun was all about. The two that I had handled before this one, they were one of those oddball ones where the build quality was good, just the designs were I don't know, they were a little too funky for me. This one, when I got it in hand, I really realized what TwoSun was, what TwoSun could be and is for the majority of their designs. This is a really very cool design. It's a wicked looking knife. It's built very, very well. So let's go over it. We have titanium show side, titanium lock side, obviously. It's a titanium frame lock, milled titanium pocket clip that works very well. It's got kind of like that dished out kind of deal underneath it. Works really well. There's one piece of hardware holding in the clip, and it must be, you know what? I'm actually not sure how they keep that clip from moving side to side, but does not. There's either a little detent ball underneath there, like Shirogorov, or it's inset into a little pocket into the titanium so that it doesn't rotate. However they're doing that, you know what? Let's take the clip off really quick and find out. I'm very curious now. Speaking of, they're using T8s all the way around on this knife. Love that. Love it, even on the clip. What is happening? It's like still in there. Huh. What is holding that? Is this one going all the way through? Hang on here. We need to do a little detective work. What is holding that? That's really weird. All right, well, I will investigate that later. Somehow they're keeping that clip on there without rotating or spinning. Very, very solid with one piece of hardware here. Interesting. I will do more research on that after the video. But anyways, we got a great clip that works nice. Interesting kind of larger pivot and pivot collar here. You got your Torx head on this side with some little tri-pattern milling on there. We got two pieces of hardware in the steel lock bar insert and over travel stop. They're one and the same, right on in there. Lockup is good. This thing is solid as a rock, no play. And this one I have installed skiff bearings in, and the action's unbelievable. It was pretty good before, but now it's just it's at another level of smoothness. Awesome. It's a flicker only, so you can use your thumb, or you can do the reverse flick. No flipper tab, no thumb stud, nothing. Which is one thing another thing I really like about this knife. It's just simple. There's just a cutout in the blade, and that's all you use. I love how they do the contouring on these scales. There's just 3 separate flat spots here. I just love how the light plays off of them. I think that's a really cool way to do some contouring. Pretty angular knife. Kind of looks a little futuristic. Super aggressive Tonto. Deep hollow grind right here. I mean, like super deep. Thin behind the edge there. A little thicker behind the edge up here on the flat grind part of the Tonto. The grinds just look really nice. A little bit of a swedge there. Good tip for piercing. You have 2 usable tips. Ergonomically, it's great. Really comfortable because you got that contouring. You got a choke up spot. The sharpening choil is done very nicely. Honestly, I can't find a fault with this thing. I really, really can't. Now, this one is in 14C28N. Apparently, it is an older model when they used to use a little bit more 14C back in the day, whenever that was. These other 2 on the table are in D2. So this one's a little bit upgrade on the blade steel. You got the logo there. You have the maker's mark there, and then 14C on the blade right there. So that's the TwoSun TS300. That was my first one. Then I got this guy, the 269. This one, I've had it for about a week now, and it has broken in so nicely. I mean, look at that. That's just nutty. Rock solid blade. I mean, what the hell, dude? What the hell? Same as the last one. Full titanium construction, frame lock, milled pocket clip. This one has milling all over the handle. I mean, you can see it all over the handle. And then we have some lines radiating out from the pivot there. You got your pivot collar. It says TwoSun knives made in Yangzheng, China. It says that on both sides. I love how they continued that milling on the lock bar. They could have easily just, said, "Well, that's too much work. We'll leave that plain." Nope, they put it on the lock bar too. It just looks so good, man. We have a little bit of an upswept tip on this guy. You got a harpoon notch to stick your thumb in. Choke up spot, a similar choke up spot to the TwoSun 300 or the TS300. Kind of not like a full choil area, and it's not a flat spot either. It's a little bit of a curve in there to make it a little bit more comfortable. And this is very comfortable to choke up on. Super comfortable. This is also just a super wicked looking knife. We got a titanium backspacer. There is no backspacer on the 300, by the way. But we got one in here. We got a lanyard hole. Lock bar axis is great. Action. Fantastic detent on this guy. I mean, the blade just... It's good, okay? It's good. I'm running out of words to describe how good this is. You know what I mean? It is just good, all right? Trust me. Very thin behind the edge. This is a very slicey blade. Super slicey. The belt satin looks really nice. Super nice. Just a beautiful blade. Really a beautiful blade. My only complaint with this one, the thumb studs are a bit pokey. You can see they kind of come to a little bit of a point there. the way I thumb flick it, I'm kind of coming at it from the side anyways. So it really doesn't bother me on the thumb flick. If I want to reverse flick it though, I do feel it a bit more. It's not like making my fingers bleed or anything, but I have noticed it. I may end up taking a little bit of a file to this possibly. Um, that's the only thing though. Aside from that, this is just an incredible knife. And then we have the TS216. This is a smaller, a little bit more of a gentleman's carry knife. At least in my eyes it is. This is a beautiful knife too. We have a really nice carbon fiber inlay on both sides. It's a bolster lock or a frame lock that's covered up partly by the inlay, which I really like. Just looks so good. We have micro milling on the titanium. You can see those lines in there. So handsome. We have some milling on this on the backspacer and lanyard hole area. I really like how they did this whole thing in here. It just looks nice. Good attention to detail. You know, they could have made this much simpler back in here. The wire pocket clip actually goes around and then back behind the scale. You can see that. Really, really cool how they did that. Not reversible, however. Actually, none of these knives have reversible pocket clips. The wire clip, you know, usually not my thing. This one works really good, though. I mean, super, super well. And it's not that uncomfortable either. Again, we have the two hardware holding in the steel lock bar insert. Is this one? Yeah, they all have two. Or no, this one has one. These two, however, have the two pieces of hardware holding in the lock bar insert and over travel stop. Or does this one? Yeah, it has an over travel stop also. This one, pretty interesting blade. You know, flat ground all the way up till, well, yeah, it's flat ground all the way, but we also have this kind of secondary bevel towards the tip. Really interesting. Never seen that before. I think it probably just thins it out up here a bit more. Um, could just be for looks too. I'm not sure. Um, I really like this blade. I just really like the blade. I like how the plunge line kind of curves up and you know, kind of ends way over here. I think that looks really nice. This is a Jerry Jelly design in D2. And it's a one-sided thumb stud. So, you know, kind of interesting how they did it. The blade is totally inside the handle for the most part. There's a little peeking out. And then on the show side, they have the notch cut out for the thumb stud. You know, if this was a flipper knife, they could get away with, you know, not having that notch there. But they have to get the thumb stud on, so they put the notch. And they couldn't lower this side down for room for another thumb stud, so they just did one. And you know, I don't care. I really like it. I really, really like it. The way, you know, I wasn't sure at first because it sticks out far, you know. It's sticking out a little bit past the surface of the scale. Um, and I thought that would bother me, but it really doesn't. In fact, I actually very much like it. So there's a couple ways you can open this knife. You can slow roll it. There's a really grippy texture on the top of this post right here. So you can just put your thumb right on top of it and slow roll it out. It's actually really satisfying to do. You can thumb flick it out by kind of getting behind the thumb stud. Excellent detent. You could even thumb flick it by putting your thumb on top of it. This stuff is grippy enough to where you could just put your thumb on top, pop it out. Now you might be thinking, lefties are going to hate this knife. Well, yeah, maybe, but the reverse flick is excellent on the left hand. It's really fun, man. It's very fun. It's easy to do because this inlay is covering up a lot of the lock bar. You can put your thumb really nice and close right up here. And it just flies out. There's no follow through with your finger. The detent is tuned really nicely, so you just break the detent and it just pops out. It's fun. It's really fun. So that's enough talk about this about that knife. I could keep going on about these guys, but let's talk about TwoSun a little more in depth here. So the question was, should you be paying, for example, let's talk about the Chavez scapegoat here, made by Riot, which is an overseas manufacturer of knives. This knife, new, I think, is around $375. Should you pay $375 for a Chavez when you can pay 90 for something like this? Similar knives, not in their design, but in their build quality and the materials, not except the blade steel. Both titanium frame locks, titanium clips, both thumb stud action, both very good detents, very good detents. I cannot, well, let's see. I honestly cannot say that the Chavez has a better detent. I think they're very, very close. They're like very, very close. I honestly cannot say that the more expensive knife has a better detent. It does not. So what are you paying for? What's the $375 for? Well, it's for the M390. Much better blade steel. And it's for that little logo right there and his design. You're paying for the Chavez design, which I did. I own this knife and I love it. I love I mean, this is a fantastic design. When I first saw this knife, I knew I needed to have it because it's badass, man. It's a badass design. So I think that's part of the answer here is sometimes you pay up for the design. We've all done it. If we weren't paying up for designs, we would all just have budget knives. Budget knives work just fine. But we pay up for designs. Now, when we're talking about TwoSun, you can't really say that you're paying up for build quality because the build quality here is very, very similar. I know people might argue that. To me, this is all from my perspective, by the way. I'm not stating any of this as facts. This is all my opinion, and you can have yours too. It's my opinion that the build quality is next to undiscernible between these two. Undiscernible. If I didn't know either of these knives or who made them, and I was blindfolded and I handled them, I wouldn't be able to tell you which was more expensive. Honestly, I would not be able to. So we're paying up for the design, and in this case, the better blade steel. That's about it. I really think that's really the only reason. That's not a bad reason either. That's a very good reason. I collect knives, and I'm sure all of you guys, or most of you guys, do as well. I collect knives that I pay a lot for the design. This is an extreme example, but this is a titanium frame lock also. Better blade steel, yeah. I mean, if we want to talk about action, I mean, not a whole lot of difference here. Snappy thumb studs, fall shut action, right here. So, you're paying for the Hinderer design, which is fantastic, I paid for the Hinderer design because I love it, and I love his knives. That's about it, And the blade steel does play a big role. You want to pay up to get a blade steel that depending on where you live, you want it to have either edge retention prioritized or corrosion resistance prioritized. Whatever it is, you're paying up for the better steel. So that's a very large part of it too. I think the two factors here are the design and the blade steel. Because build quality is out the window. Build quality is out the window. So those are kind of my thoughts on the whole TwoSun thing. I love TwoSun. I plan to get more in the collection. Um, I'm just a big fan, you know. Um, Another thing that crossed my mind, and I could be absolutely totally wrong on this. You know, there's a lot of people out there, possibly that are even watching this video, that know way more about the knife world than I do. In fact, it's pretty probable that that's the case. So if I'm wrong, let me know. But this thought crossed my mind. If TwoSun is able to make these knives for what they make them for, you know, if they're charging us $90, what does it cost them to make it? Like 10? $10? Less? $6? I don't know. I have no idea. It's very little though, I know that. Um, if TwoSun is able to do that, um, aren't companies that are making knives for U.S. companies like Chavez? They must be making a killing on us, right? Doesn't that make sense? If they can make knives like TwoSun's overseas, they can make these Chavezes for the same price. You know, a little bit. They have to buy the better blade steel, um, but they're making a killing. They must be. You know, when a U.S. designer comes to say Riot or Bestech or one of the OEMs for to have them build a knife for them, they must be stoked over there. You know, they must be thinking, hell yeah, we're gonna pump out this design for this American designer. The knives are gonna be awesome because we can make awesome knives, and we can charge them a lot more. So that's just that thought crossed my mind the other day. I was like, man, this TwoSun's cost them whatever $10 to make. I bet the Chavez cost them like, I don't know, $40 to make. You know? Let me know if that logic is totally off. It very well could be, but that's just something that crossed my mind. I thought it was interesting. So thanks for watching, folks. This was a long video. Hope you hung in there. I thought it was really interesting. If you haven't checked out a TwoSun, I would really recommend it. Really, you know, if you're in a situation where you don't have the funds to get something like a Chavez or a whatever, um, pick up a TwoSun, man. The only thing you'll be missing out on is the better blade steel. I'm telling you. Um, they're just awesome. They're really, really, really well made. So that's about it. I love you guys. Thanks for watching. Please like the video before you head out. That really helps out the channel. Consider becoming a channel member. There's different perks that you get that are pretty cool. And I'll see ya in the next video. Adios.